Welcome all to the Pro Football Radio Podcast. This is your co-host, Jay Chima, with the pride and joy of Merrimack, New Hampshire, the Puma.
What's up, man?
What's up, brother? How you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing good. It's great to be back. Another week has passed, and the injury bug still plagues the Chargers, and the Jets are the Jets. We're gonna get to them in a minute. And hey, look at that! The Dolphins are actually kind of getting criticized for running the score up on somebody. What a time to be alive, Jay! What a time!
What do you mean though? I haven't seen nobody criticizing the Dolphins.
Oh, there's been like this one tweet coming out of spoke with multiple owners, and they were kind of bent out of shape about the lack of sportsmanship, and then someone hit me up in the DMs about that. Oh yeah, and it's like, dude, like they actually were trying to run their 4-minute offense, and Denver just decided to make a bunch of business decisions, and two, Mike McDaniel just stuck it to the Broncos for the nonsense that Sean Payton was talking out of his ass last year about how Tua was going to lose his job to Teddy Bridgewater, without even an injury being a main cause, and sticking it to the Broncos for Vic Fangio. So good times.
Yeah, man, that was an absolute insane performance. I am still stunned that we saw an NFL team put up 70 points on the NFL team. I haven't seen in my lifetime. The last time it happened was back 73 points back in, what was it, 80s or 70s or whatever it was.
The 60s.
But 60s, yeah. It's been such a long time since somebody put up 70 freaking points on somebody. And part of me thinks, yes, I get it. The Dolphins offense is great, but the other part of me thinks what the hell are the Broncos doing, dude? I feel like they kind of gave up on their coach. And I don't know, man. I think it's a bad sign all the way around for the Broncos. But let's focus in on the Dolphins here, because they've got a big matchup against the Buffalo Bills this upcoming week. Both teams are hot. Both teams are vying for the AFC East contendership. Who do you got win this game, bro?
Call me a homer, but I'm gonna go with the Dolphins. I'm gonna go with the Dolphins on this one. I mean, their offense is probably the best in the NFL at this point. I think we're a game or two away from this offense getting their own nickname and not being called the greatest show on turf light. But I mean, in reality, this is going to be the ultimate litmus test, at least thus far in the season for the Dolphins, where they're facing a defensive line in the Bills that made life a living hell for Sam Howell and the Washington Commanders. They sacked him 9 times. They forced 3 or 4 interceptions, a fumble. I mean, they were making life very uncomfortable for the Washington Commanders back there. But, when you look at the Bills defense, a lot of their, they've lived off of the turnover. They've generated 8 turnovers over the last 2 games. The Dolphins aren't going to put the ball in harm's way here. And the Bills have also given up a league worst, almost 6 yards a carry to the running backs. And we saw what this running game from Miami can do. They're gonna run it down their throat until, Sean McDermott and the Bills defense stops them. And on the other side of the football, is Vic Fangio going to, make Josh Allen impatient back there? Are they gonna make him take what the defense is giving him? Which, since the Jets game, it kind of looks like he has. But this is going to be another big test for that Bills defense since the Jets game. Is what's Vic Fangio going to do? Are they going to dial up the pressure when needed? Because the Vic Fangio defense, they'll give you the plays underneath, but once it gets down in the red zone, they're going to clamp down and make life difficult for you, and you might end up just leaving the red zone with 3 points. So I think this is going to be a close game. And by the way, this time last year, when the Dolphins faced the Bills in the regular season at New Era Stadium or Bills Park, whatever it's called now, they kept it within 3 points. So the over-under is in the 50s, I believe. The spread right now is at 3. This is one of my best bets. But I'm going to go with the Dolphins here. They can win outright, but I'm definitely taking the Dolphins +3.
I'm going to roll with the Bills here just because, I truly believe that, Miami is just far superior on offense. I believe that those guys are winning by 20 points on average, which is kind of ridiculous in the NFL. But the defense for the Buffalo Bills has really kind of rounded into form the last couple of games, right? They're making life a living hell for opposing quarterbacks. Generally speaking, they're in the top 1, 2, 3 in most defensive categories. And I think the Buffalo Bills are just a more well-balanced team over the Miami Dolphins, right? Their offense is generally speaking 1, 2, 3 in most categories, and now their defense is kind of backing that up as well. Now, the one question I want to ask you, Puma, is, and obviously, you watch the Miami Dolphins on a very regular basis. Like, how would you go about slowing down this offense? Like, a lot of so far, a lot of the defenses that have played the Miami Dolphins have had no answers whatsoever, and a lot of this comes down to the fact that Mike McDaniel is so far ahead of the curve when it comes to game planning. Like, you barely see the same play from him over and over again. Like, it's just brand new plays all the time. So if you had to guess, like, how would you go? Do you think the Buffalo Bills are going to go about trying to slow down this defense, this offense?
A wing and a prayer.
Well, there's got to be more than
Honestly,
that.
honestly, like it might come down to, but I said it. The first week when they faced the Chargers, it's like the Chargers kind of laid out a blueprint last year of just taking away the middle of the field and make Tua throw to the outside numbers, and that kind of had success last year. Is this year it seems like he started to round into form on that. I mean, I guess if you really had to attack something, like I would probably still say like make Tua throw outside the numbers and throw deep and see what happens, because it's well known, like he doesn't have a howitzer for an arm, but it's good enough to get the ball down the field. But there are going to be the occasional throws where he has underthrown it, and that's going to give opportunities for Micah Hyde or Jordan Poyer or Tre'Davious White to make a play on the ball and return it for an interception. So I think it's going to come to that. And this offensive line, like, this is going to be another big litmus test of, hey, like, Teron Armstead should play, but he's also been dinged up from time to time. So is this defensive line with Ed Oliver and Leonard Floyd going to be able to get after Tua and make it uncomfortable for him back there?
Here's the way I see it. I think the Buffalo Bills got to do a good job of providing him a picture before snap and a different picture post snap. The one thing I've seen out of Tua so far is the fact that he gets the ball out within 2 seconds, 1.9 seconds to 2 seconds, tells me immediately that, like, he already knows what your defense is. Like, nobody processes the ball that fast from snap, 1.9 seconds getting the ball out. That generally means he already knows where he's going with the football. So if I had to guess, I think the Buffalo Bills come in with a plan to provide him with a picture up front and then a completely different picture once the ball is snapped. Now, obviously, that's easier said than done, just because Mike McDaniel puts you in such precarious situations as a defense where he'll get the answers out of you before. I mean, all his bunches, all his formations, all of his, the way he moves people around pre-snap is all done just to decipher all that information. He's a genius at it so far. I mean, the guy is reinventing. I think NFL offense is like right on the fly. Nobody's talking about it, in my opinion. Like, this is the best offense I've seen since the 2007 Patriots, and it basically reminds me of that.
Right. And just remember, last week they put up 70 on the Broncos, and that's without Jalen Waddle. So,
Yeah,
and Waddle should be
yeah.
back this week. He looked pretty promising last week coming out of the concussion protocol. But nowadays, if you have a concussion during a game, like, it's a given, like, you're not playing that week. I fully expect him to play this week. So, what is Sean McDermott going to do? Like, okay, we'll take away Tyreek Hill, but now you have Jalen Waddle screaming across the middle of the field. And oh yeah, by the way, we have like the two fastest running backs and one of the fastest athletes in the NFL on our team. So
Yeah.
good luck, but
Yeah, that should be a good game. Like, that 1 o'clock window. I mean, they should somehow move that down to a Sunday night football game, which obviously is too early to flex into those games. But I mean, I'm not looking forward to watching that Chiefs versus Jets game on Sunday night football.
it's
This is my opinion, is the marquee game of the week, the Dolphins versus the Bills.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Betting wise, do you have any Puma bets for this game, or no?
Just Dolphins +3.
Okay, cool.
It's been going back and forth between 2.5 and 3. So, like, if you
Yeah.
like the Dolphins, I would grab it at 3, because I think, worst case, besides a loss, which I don't think it's going to happen, there's probably a good chance that this ends on 3 and you just get a push and get your money back. If this goes to 3.5, like, I'm probably going to jump on that too. But if you like Buffalo, just wait until it gets down to 2.5.
Okay, cool. All right, let's talk about my New England Patriots taking on the Dallas Cowboys. The Patriots are eking out a win in East Rutherford, New Jersey, over the lonely, hapless New York Jets. And the Cowboys are coming off a loss to Josh Dobbs and the Arizona Cardinals. Right off the bat, Puma, I've been formulating this take for a couple of days now.
I can't wait.
I think the Cowboys are secretly bad. I truly believe that, man. I think they're one of those teams where, so far the information we have off of 3 weeks it says that they're a dominant football team. But the problem is they've played some really, really bad competition in those 3 weeks. And one of those teams they played bad competition against, they lost, right? So, they started the season with the Giants, 40-0 right off the bat. That was a train wreck, right? The second week, you got Zach Wilson. I mean, that is what it is. And the second you played a somewhat interesting team, I'm not saying they're good, but the Arizona Cardinals, I think, are definitely better than the New York Jets. I think that's when you really saw some of the deficiencies coming out of the Dallas Cowboys. I think the fact that they refuse to really trust Dak Prescott in these key situations speaks volumes when it comes to how they view him as the quarterback of that team. So call me crazy, call me Homer here, Puma, but I think the Patriots find a way to get into Jerry World and pull out a victory. And I'm not saying it's gonna be a big shootout. If it's a shootout, then I think we're kind of toast there. But if you can muddy the game up, making a defensive rock fight and put Dak Prescott in those pressure pack situations where he's got to make those big throws to win the game, that's when the turnovers happen. That's when he looks his worst, and that's where the Patriots can eke out a victory. So call me a homer, but let's go Patriots.
If you were to say I have New England keeping it within the number, which is right now the spread's at 7, I could buy that. But to win on the road at Jerry World, like, to me, that's a bridge too far. I think honestly, point taken with your take. Like, they probably are, potentially a bad football team because they've played nobody, and then they ran into a frisky Arizona Cardinals team last week. But I also think maybe it was just a look ahead. They thought, all right, we're just going to roll the balls out there and leave Arizona with the win, which I don't know why you would do that, because they've been in, them being the Arizona Cardinals, they've been in games every time this season, even when they melted down against the New York Giants. But I think this is going to be a exercise the demons type of game. Like, they're at home in Jerry World. That defense is embarrassed. They're down Trayvon Diggs because of his torn ACL last week in practice. So he's not going to be there. So I think this is going to be, like I said, exercising in the demons. Parsons should be able to have his way with this offensive line of the New England Patriots. But the counter to that, though, is I think if the Pats are going to have a puncher's chance in this game, they're going to have to take the page out of the Arizona Cardinals playbook and just run the football down the Dallas Cowboys' throat. Because, for as great as the front four of the Dallas Cowboys is, like, they are a little bit on the undersized portion of, how big these defensive linemen are compared to, what the Cardinals did. And James Conner, I think he had like 130 total yards last week, and they just ran the football down their throats. So this could be a heavy Ramondre Stevenson game. Like, betting wise, I might look at his like rushing props, but I have Dallas winning. But like, I do think New England can cover this game. So like, I'm not betting this game, the spread, but I do have Dallas winning at home.
Over under on the amount of dirty plays Mac Jones is gonna do on the Dallas Cowboys.
So if we're setting it at half, I'm gonna take the over. I think he's gonna make the fatal mistake of like trying to play mind games with Parsons, and Parsons just gonna have him wear his ass for a hat.
What do you make of this Mac Jones as a dirty football player commentary? Like, because now this is 3 years in a row where he's had some sort of dirty accusation, whether it was Brian Burns, whether it was going at the Bengals players' knees last year, whether it was going foots up into somebody's groin, right? Like, it seems like this is a recurring pattern for this player. Some people have dubbed him the Grayson Allen of football. What do you make of this?
I mean, an accusation is implying that there's no video to corroborate the claims. There is video. I saw him go cleats up on Monday Night Football last year against the Bears. And even I texted you being like, is he trying to, make this dude sterile? Like, why are you going cleats up on a quarterback slide? And then you see the alligator roll with Brian Burns. And then, now you have like the cup check, like, I don't know if this is like a half-ass attempt at playing mind games, which, by the way, like, you're doing that in a Jets game where, like, you particularly aren't lighting up the scoreboard. So, like, you have no reason to be talking shit at all or trying to do anything to get under the opposing player's skin. Like, your defense is carrying your jock strap at MetLife Stadium, by the way. And if it wasn't for a busted coverage play, we're probably still playing in overtime at MetLife Stadium right now against the Jets. But you haven't done anything, but yet you're like, now you are becoming like the Bill Romanowski, the Grayson Allen. I mean, I texted you this the other day, Jam. Like, all he needs to do now is to just spit in somebody's face, and he now has done like the holy trinity of Bill Romanowski things, racial epithets, aside, because that did happen with Bill Romanowski when I think he was with the Raiders with somebody from the San Francisco 49ers back in the day. But all these people, all these like Mac truthers coming out being like, oh, well, that really doesn't show anything. Listen, I have like my left eye twitching because of stress at work. And even I can see that he's trying to like cup check and like hit this dude below the belt. So like, don't tell me that there's nothing there. Like, you guys, in the words of you, Jay, the most ridiculous sycophants I've ever seen. I feel a little bit better now.
You feel good, man? You got that off your chest?
I
feeling
do.
better?
Yes.
I mean, at this point, man, it's fairly obvious he's a dirty player, and if I'm him, I just lean into it. I go full dirty player, man. Just like every week coming out, just like hitting people in the groin, just like being as dirty as possible. Face mask, eye gouging, all that stuff. Just do it, bro.
Right.
The repetition's already out there. Now you can't rein it in now.
Pretty much. But like the other thing too, Jay, is, I mean, like, there's no explosiveness on this offense. Like, there's none. Like, Devontae Parker ain't it. Captain soft tissue injury. Juju Smith-Schuster's probably going to play his way out of a job within the next 2 weeks. Like, I know I said, hand the ball off to Ramondre Stevenson, but at some point they're going to have to throw the football through the air.
Well, let me paint the picture for you here, right? This year so far, we're 1-2. We've scored 52 points. Out of those 52 points, 2 of them have come off a safety, so we've scored 50 points on offense, right? Last year, we were 1-2, and we've scored 50 points through 3 weeks as well. So, I mean, the parts in theory have changed with Bill O'Brien being this savior of the offense coming in, but in reality, like, it's still the same output. Sure, the operation looks better where the plays come in more quickly. There's no crazy timeouts. Mac Jones is not losing his shit. There's no incompetency. The problem is the results are the exact same as last year. So I really, at this point, like, I don't know what else needs to be said, but it truly comes down to Mac Jones. Like, we are now 3 years into making excuses for this guy. Year 1, he was hit the rookie wall, right? Remember that bullshit?
Mm-hmm.
Year 2, you can't blame him because he's got Patricia and Joe Judge. Year 3 now, it's offensive line and there's no weapons around him, blah, blah, blah. The same things you just said. At some point, man, we've got to look at the common denominator in all this, and that's Mac Jones, right? Like, he is producing the same amount that he produced last year, even though in theory this year he has better talent around him, which he does, and he has a better competent offensive coordinator around him. But the problems are still there. He can't pass the ball 10 yards down the field without it being completely inaccurately off the course of the trajectory.
Yep. Fun times.
There's not, I mean, like, I truly don't know when, like, people are gonna start opening their eyes to this. I don't understand. Like, it's been 3 years and it's all the same crap year in and year out, bro.
Don't worry, he's what is it? He's comparable to Tua?
Yeah, I mean, now it's funny because a lot of New Englanders are coming off that, Mac Jones is comparable to Tua take, because back in the day, people were like, Tua, Mac Jones, Joe Burrow, I see no difference. That's what they would say, You remember year 1 where they were talking about how Mac Jones would be the next Joe Burrow? Right, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You saw Joe Burrow last night show way more heart on a leg and a half than Mac Jones has ever shown in his whole life.
Remember that rolled ankle? You would have thought he got shot on Omaha Beach?
Dude,
it's time to be
he's
alive.
just, I mean, like, I don't know how to say this without sounding mean. He's just a bitch. Like, I mean, like, I don't know how else to say this. I really don't. Like, Mac Jones literally is just a bitch, bro. Like, a bratty tennis brat bitch. And, like, just one of those guys that everything's been fed to him his whole life. Like, he's just a bitch. That's all I can say, man.
It's,
like, as a man, like, do you find it weird that he decided to go to that tactic in that moment. You feel me? Like a person, you put your hand up. Sauce Gardner said, "No, I'm not gonna help you up." Right? Fine, whatever. So you get up, you get face to face with him essentially, and then you just hit him in the nuts. Like
Not
no,
even that, Jay. You hit him in the nuts, you get
you
pushed
run away.
down, and then
No, you
you
run away.
run to the sideline.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. I severely don't know how to. I'm trying my best not to be harsh here, right?
really,
But
you're worried about being harsh? I live in like the tri-state area. Everybody has buried Zach Wilson. Everybody.
that's different
Except
though.
the
He
Zach
can't
Wilson
play. He
truthers.
can't play. I mean, he can't play, but we're not questioning if he's a bitch or not. You feel me? This is a
Right.
different accusation. Like
Right. Well, I mean,
this is not.
he banged one of his mom's friends. So,
That's a great move. Hell
you
yeah,
know what I'm
Zach
saying?
Wilson.
Hey,
Yeah, that's
God
awesome,
bless you,
man.
Zach. At least you're getting a W off the field. Um,
Nice. All right, we should move on before I lose my shit.
oh, come
The
on now.
Baltimore Ravens coming off an overtime loss to the Colts versus the Cleveland Browns, who are rounding into shape. They're coming off a win against the Tennessee Titans. They're looking really good on defense. Their offense is looking better. Deshaun Watson, in my opinion, is starting to look like the old Deshaun Watson of Houston for one game, just one game. But hey, don't worry, the Browns are coming.
He's still a Jag.
Let's go Brownies.
He's still a Jag. I hope you would look good against literally the worst secondary in the NFL. I really do. The only thing that Titans did good up until last week was stopping the run. After that, it was just a turnstile at the cornerback position. So I hope you would have some sort of semblance of success with an aerial attack, which, by the way, before we get to this game breakdown, can we talk about how, like, Stevie Wonder-esque blind? And I know it's not PC to say, but how blind the referee was on that Amari Cooper pass that would have been a touchdown. And I'm saying that as a guy that has Amari Cooper on his fantasy team. So having 2 touchdowns would have been fantastic. But yet somehow he was out of bounds when his foot was nowhere near the white line. Not one iota near one blade of grass that was out of bounds. These referees are out of control. But to get back to the point at hand, the Ravens and the Browns, the over-under is 40.5 or 41, depending on what book you're looking at. And the spread is Cleveland -2.5. The Browns defense is legit. Myles Garrett has a couple of new headstones.
490 yards in 3 games.
And I think there's only been 2 trips to the red zone on this Browns defense. Yep. But let's take a recap of the quarterbacks that they faced, shall we? They faced a hobbled Joe Burrow with the calf injury and no training camp. They faced Kenny Pickett, which, good God.
I mean, he looked all right against the Raiders the other night.
For a drive, and then they went back to the Steelers that made me really contemplate the 2-unit play I did on Steelers +3. Yeah, real fun times. And then Ryan Tannehill, which, granted, he held on the ball a little bit too long, but that offensive line did him no favors. So I think this is going to be like this defense, the Browns defense, like real first like litmus test of the season. And the Ravens are all banged up. It seems like every week they're leaving with a minimum of 2 people going on the injured list. Gus Edwards is probably going to miss this game for the Ravens, running back with a concussion. So the Ravens are turning the clock back with Melvin Gordon being probably the lead running back with Justice Hill. And then, expect Lamar to run it a handful of times as well, too. All that being said, I kind of like Baltimore in this game.
Let's go Brownies.
Just because, like, to me, like I still haven't seen anything from Watson. Like if he can move the ball through the air
against the Titans, man, come on,
yeah,
give him that.
Yeah, the worst secondary in the league. Like, okay, like for all like the injuries that the Ravens have had thus far, I mean, the only reason why they lost that game was they got field goal kicked to death by a guy that was booting it from 55 yards every time. So if you can move the ball through the air against like the Ravens secondary, like at this point, like, okay, fine. I will stop calling him a Jag, but until that point, he's just a guy. So I'm going to take the Ravens.
I don't know what it is.
I'm not betting this game, but I'm taking the Ravens in this matchup.
I don't know what it is. and I can't put my finger on it, Puma, but like I want him to succeed, and I don't know why. Like
because I'll tell you why. Because you go the opposite direction.
no, I
You go
don't.
everyone
No,
knows
no,
like Deshaun
no.
Watson. Deshaun Watson is a freak.
Yeah,
He's got a serious issue
yeah,
going
he's got
on,
problems.
and
Yeah, he's a bad
everybody's
person.
just piling it on.
He's
But to quote like Jerry Maguire, like the first couple of minutes of that movie where like Jerry Maguire's meeting one of his like client athletes at the jailhouse, and there's like a bunch of cameras out there. It's like none of this changes the fact that he's an exceptional athlete. Like that is why you're going with Deshaun Watson to succeed. He's the ultimate heel. He's like the Vince McMahon of NFL.
I think that's why I like want him to succeed so bad, because I know deep down he's a piece of shit human being. I mean, listen, we get it. I mean, there's too many accusations out there. I'm not even saying all that, but I just something about me like wants him to succeed. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it was the over the top like piling on of him and this and that, but I think, listen, to be truthful, yes, I get it. The Tennessee Titans are not the best football team, and ultimately, some of these numbers you threw up are a little inflated because of how bad the Titans are. But you gotta admit, 27-33, 289 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he looked more in command. He looked like he had more confidence. He looked like he had some of that athleticism back where he'd run out and make that big throw down the field. And I'm not saying he's back to his old Houston ways, but I just saw a glimpse of hope. I saw a little glimmer of hope against that performance against the Titans, and that defense playing the way they are. I think the Baltimore Ravens are in for a long, long day. The other part of me really, doesn't like Lamar Jackson. Like it's funny how I'm rooting
you're
for
giving me shit. It's like I'm saying he's a Jag, and you're like, well, F Lamar. Okay, all right, well, go on.
Lamar's a quitter, like straight up. Lamar's a quitter in my mind. The guy quit on his team last year. I'll never be able to get over that. And it's funny how like I'm somewhat like champion the guy that has like 21.
Yeah. Of all things, like he quits on the team. Like, this guy just,
something about Lamar I just can't get behind. And you're starting to see it now where, week 1, they had a pretty pass first, like dominant offense, right? Week 2, that got shifted a little bit. It was more passing, and then obviously there's some running in there as well. Week 3 last week, I think they're starting to realize, we can't just throw the ball like this the way we want to throw the ball like this. Like we're gonna have to start putting some of these runs back in there and have a better balance of Lamar running and throwing the football. And you're starting to see a progression where they're starting to realize, all right, well, he's not able to throw it 60 times a game. He's not Joe Burrow, right? And we're trying to make him something he's not. So, I think they played along with his feelings for a little bit about how they're going to be a pass first team and new offensive coordinator, blah, blah, blah. But you're starting to see that twist happen, that change happen. And going up against this defense is the wrong time to have that change happening because Miles Garrett is coming, bro. He's coming.
Yep. But Baltimore's going to win. It's going to be close.
Nope. Let's go Brownies. Let's go Brownies. Deshaun Watson coming back, Puma. He's coming back.
He's going straight back to a Jag. That's what he's coming back to. He's coming back to being a Jag. You want to know who else is a Jag? You want to know who else is actually, Jay, a Jag is probably too much of a compliment for this guy. You know who that guy is?
Zach Wilson?
Yep. Zach Wilson is not good enough to be a Jag.
Yeah. So the main event, the primetime game that everybody's looking forward to, Sunday Night Football, Chiefs versus Jets.
Click.
We can both agree the Chiefs are going to win, right? So let's just move past the game preview. Let's talk about Zach Wilson.
Let me real quick from a betting angle. Like I'm not like I might look at like just the Chiefs team total, or maybe just play the under on the Jets team total. I would love to see what it is, because if it's like north of 14, like I don't even know what I would do. I would probably bet the under on the Jets team total and just see what happens. But I'll tell you this much: it'll probably be like a happy day in the house. Like, my wife won't have to watch like 13 hours of football straight. Like it'll just be red zone, and then like the 1 and the 4 o'clock games. And then after that, it's all right. Let's catch up on 90 Day Fiance or anything that isn't football, because one, she hates Taylor Swift. And this is probably all they're going to talk about is Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, the new power couple. And, how his jersey sales like went up like 400% since the game and all that nonsense. But to Zach Wilson, Jay, I thought like the Mac Jones truthers were bad. The people that are just dying on the Zach Wilson is not the problem hill is hilarious. Like a couple of times, I'm like, am I about to lose control of my truck?
Well,
On
you know
Route
why,
8?
right? You know why they
It's
say that, right?
insane.
Because Robert Saleh is saying that. Like the head coach is saying that. So of course the fan base is gonna take that and run with it.
It's just like one of the guys. I love the fan. I listen to the fan whenever I get in the car or whatever. And I love Brandon Tierney. Brandon Tierney, he's a good guy, but like some of the takes, it's like, well, if Sauce Gardner didn't drop that pick six, that would have been pick six in Dallas, they probably would have won that game, and they would have been like 2-1, 2-0 going into that New England game and all that. I'm like, dude, like in what world? Like you're putting this on like the defense not doing enough, but like Zach Wilson's not keeping the defense on the sideline to catch their breath and not be on the field for 45 minutes in a 60-minute game. Like what are you talking about? This kid can't play. He's got happy feet. It was an absolute reach at taking this guy coming out of BYU. And that's no shot at BYU. I mean, Jim McMahon came out of BYU and played for the Bears and won a Super Bowl.
Let's take the shot. Fuck it. Let's take the shot.
But like he's not that guy. He's not even like Carson Wentz. He's not even like a Sam Darnold. He's not even just a guy. He can't play the game. And this was an absolute travesty by this coaching staff, by this general manager that went all in on Aaron Rodgers. They went all in on Aaron Rodgers. They brought all of his friends. They brought the band back together from Green Bay and made Forum Park, Green Bay North. And within 4 plays, we've been calling it all season that this is one missed block away from being like the Titanic for the 2023 NFL season. Nathaniel Hackett can't coach. He's just there to be Aaron Rodgers' ego inflator. And they had Aaron Rodgers out there to also be the offensive coordinator on the field. And everything went up in smoke. And now everyone's saying, oh, well, they need to open up the playbook more for Zach Wilson. He can't even read a defense, and you want to open the playbook up so he can succeed. And he's showing signs of improvement in practice.
The only reason that game was a one-score game against the Patriots on Sunday was because they purposely made sure he didn't open the playbook up. Mm-hmm. They purposely made sure he couldn't throw those interceptions and ruin the game for them.
Jay, let me ask you this question. If Saleh's saying, right, and we're not in practice, right? We're not in practice, so all right, I'll take what Saleh's saying. If Saleh is saying that Zach Wilson is showing improvement in practice, and he's practicing against the New York Jets defense that's vaunted last year and was the big crutch of like, hey, this is a championship caliber team with this defense. They just need the quarterback to put him over the hump. How is that improvement against this, iron sharpens iron? How is that not translating to Dallas, to New England, to the Bills? Like how?
Well, I think that's why I have this take that Zach Wilson is the worst quarterback I've ever seen play football. And I think the guy is not an NFL quarterback. And I think he's being put into a position for people to justify their draft positioning of him, simply put, right? Like, I used to think that Jamarcus Russell was the worst quarterback I ever saw play football. Jamarcus Russell was bad because he didn't put the effort in. I think Zach Wilson is a hard worker, and he the reason why he's sticking around in New York is because they see the work he puts in, but he's just bad. He's simply just bad. He can't translate it from the practice field to the practice field to the actual game field. Now, some of these stats that I have here, I want to run through real quick just because they show in comparison just how bad he is, especially when you put it up against Jamarcus Russell's career stats, right? Win-loss record, Zach Wilson, 8 of 16. Jamarcus Russell, 7 of 18. Completion percentage, Zach Wilson, 54%. Jamarcus Russell, 52%. Touchdown interception ratio, 16 to 21. And then 16 to 18 for Jamarcus Russell. And then finally, the passer rating is 68.9 for Zach Wilson and 67.8 for Jamarcus Russell. Like it's sad what's happening, because now I kind of almost feel bad for Zach Wilson, because he is being put in a position that he shouldn't be put into. Like that's like you going to work every single day, Puma. You work in the aviation industry, and you work as a dispatcher, as most people know. Like, but this is you going to work, and your boss says, "Hey, you go sit in that plane and you try to fly that thing like every single day." Of course, it'd be a train wreck. Like at some point, the leadership team in New York has to be like, "Yo, listen, this is not working anymore. We've got to take him off the field." And that's what I don't understand about Robert Saleh. Like now the ire needs to be switched over to Robert Saleh, because now he's purposely putting a kid out there on the football field that's actively working against your football team. So I don't know what he's doing. I really don't.
You want to hear a Saleh story that I heard on
Yeah,
the Fan, and
let's hear it.
it honestly blew my mind. So those of you that live in the New York tri-state area know that Joe Beningo was a long time radio host of the midday, and then had a cup of coffee in the afternoon drive. Lifelong Jets fan. He has Saleh's phone number, right?
Mhm.
After the Pats game, like immediately after the Pats game, he was texting Robert Saleh for over an hour about this game and about Zach Wilson and about how things need to change. And it's like, you have to think about the timeline, Jay, right? Like the game ends. You go to your post-game presser, and then at some point you leave Foxborough and you're talking to a former radio host for an hour?
Mhm.
Like what? Like in what world are you doing that? And not even that, Jay. Like you're talking about the quarterback that's under fire, and he's saying to Saleh that like if you don't change something with Zach, like you're going to be out of a job with him. And he kept talking to this guy. Like what do you do? Like you're focusing the wrong energy. Like you have the most insane rabbit ears. Like I don't understand what coach does that is beyond me. And yet he's going to stand up there at the podium with a straight face and say that Zach has shown improvement and Zach is the unquestioned leader, quarterback moving forward. And the bar is so low that when BT Brand Tierney's co-host asked him what was the improvement in the game with New England, and Tierney said, "Oh, he didn't throw 3 picks." If that is the bar, stop. Just go home. Just go home.
Yeah. I'm at a loss for words. I mean, there's gonna be a 30 for 30 someday about this, and we're gonna find out that like Zach Wilson had pictures of Robert Saleh or something like that. Like,
you know what the messed up thing is?
I can't understand why he's being charted back out there on a weekly basis, bro.
You know what the messed up thing is? It's like going into the year, like we probably all said to ourselves that like if they don't get it done with Aaron Rodgers at the helm, like they're all going to be out of a job. But like now that the Rodgers injury happened, and like everyone's seeing again that Zach Wilson can't play, like they probably just kick the can to like next year, and you're going to see Saleh and Joe Douglas still out there, and that is why the Jets are the Jets.
Yeah, absolute loser franchise.
What do you think is going to happen more? Do you think the Jets will score more points in a 60 minutes or overtime of a football game, or are we going to get more Kelsey and
I don't
references?
I don't want to talk about it. Like I'm so annoyed over this whole thing. Like I used to be a Taylor Swift fan. I went through my phone and started deleting all of her songs off my phone.
But what's going to happen more? More references or more points on the board by the Jets?
I don't care because I'm gonna stop watching it.
I'm gonna go with the references.
I'm probably gonna stop watching the game if like the second time, one time they show that's fine. They show a second time, I'm turning the game off.
I'm turning the game off. Dude, I'm telling you, you're gonna get more references of the new power couple than actual points on the board.
Stop, dude. Stop. Gross.
I'm just saying. Hey, ESPN went from like Colorado to like T Swift. I mean, this is like every producer at ESPN's wet dream right now. It's hilarious.
Well, they're just struggling to stay alive at this moment, so they're just grasping for any sort of headlines.
Pretty much.
Yeah. All right. God. The segment that is sweeping the nation, the segment that will make you money, the segment where after listening to it, you should go take out a second mortgage on your home and put them on the PUMABETS. Take it away, good sir.
All right, so PUMABETS, as of right now, I only have like 3 plays for the NFL, and I actually have like 2 plays for college. But like I say all the time, follow me on Twitter, check out #PUMABETS, and you'll see all my plays that I put out there, and you'll get it in real time. And this actually worked out for one of our longtime listeners, Freddie Soliotis Hercules 24-24, where one of my plays was Notre Dame plus 3.5. And he got the Notre Dame plus 3.5. And what happened, Jay? The game ended on 3. So if you got it at 3 right before kickoff, you had to push. But if you followed me, you got that line early, you got that 3.5, and we went straight to the pay window. So this week for PUMABETS thus far on a Tuesday evening, September 26th, we have the Philadelphia Eagles -8 against the Washington Commanders. The Eagles are at home, and I learned my lesson last night when I took Tampa Bay +5. I'm like, listen, like Tampa Bay is going to hang. I kind of have faith in Baker. He looks like he's shown some mild improvement. Looks like the Rams experience carried over to Tampa Bay. Everything looks great. He's been smart with the football. And after the first drive, that looked great. And after that, it did not. And that went up in smoke real quick. But, we talked about the Commanders at the top in the Bills preview. Sam Howell got sacked like 9 times. He turned the ball over 3 times. And, imagine what's going to happen when they run into this Eagles defense that's actually really good at stopping the run. So, like, it's going to be a long day at the office for Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson if, he's actually going to touch the football at all. And Sam Howell's just going to be under duress, in my opinion. So I'm going to lay the 8 with the Philadelphia Eagles at home. Next, the Arizona Cardinals +14. I guess don't tell them that they're tanking. I still think they're tanking, but, like I had a discussion with your brother, you can still win and in a tank. Just don't win more than 5 games. Take it from one that knows about tanking. The Arizona Cardinals, I think they're going on the road to Santa Clara and playing the 49ers. They're getting 14 points. To me, like, this defense for the Cardinals is frisky enough to make life a little bit uncomfortable for Brock Purdy. And, yes, Thursday Night Football, the 49ers probably could have really laid it on the Giants, but there were a couple of times where Brock Purdy looked like he had a little hiccup every now and then on the opening couple of drives. So I think Gannon is going to have this defense schemed up in a way to make life a bit uncomfortable for Brock Purdy. And I think, Dobbs has played well enough to keep this game close. And, you're getting 14 points. There's always a chance for a backdoor cover. So I'm going to take the 14 points with the Arizona Cardinals here. And then the Miami Dolphins +3. I'm not going to rehash it. Just go back like 25 minutes into the game preview for the Bills. That's why I'm taking Miami +3. College football wise, I only got 2 plays right now. That's probably going to change, like I said, as we go on throughout the week. But college, we got Kansas going on the road to Austin, Texas, playing the Texas Longhorns here. And to me, the line is set at 17. Kansas getting the 17 points. I'm going to take the points with Kansas. This seems a little bit like a trap game. It feels a little bit like Wyoming a couple of weeks ago. Texas, the next week, they have the Red River Shootout with Oklahoma at the Texas State Fair and the Cotton Bowl. To me, that seems a little bit like a look-ahead spot. Jalen Daniels for Kansas, he's got an electric arm. He's got enough weapons on that offense to keep it close. We just need the defense to get a couple of stops here. So I'm going to take the 17 points with Kansas. And then the other one, I'm taking the Houston Cougars +10 against Texas Tech. Texas Tech just lost their starting quarterback to a fractured fibia. He's probably going to be out for the rest of the season. And historically, outside of 2 blowouts over the last, seven meetings, this game has actually been within 1 score. So I'm going to take the 10 points with the Houston Cougars. But
nice.
Other leans that I have, that's probably going to change as we get closer to kickoff, especially Thursday Night Football. I kind of like the under in the Lions-Packers game. I'm just waiting to see what the final practice report looks like.
What's the number?
Right now on DraftKings, it's 46.
46, okay.
So I think, if we get more positive practice reports from Aaron Jones or Romeo Dobbs, I think that number is going to go up. Fun fact, primetime game unders are 9-2 thus far in the season. That's including Thursday Night Football, Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football. Unders have been the play in primetime games, so I kind of like the under in that game. I also like Houston +3. I'm just waiting to see if it's going to go to 3.5. We just talked about Pittsburgh. The Steelers should not be laying points at any point right now. So if it gets to 3.5, I'm probably going to jump on Houston. CJ Stroud showed me a lot through 3 weeks, and that's with a bad offensive line. So I think he can keep it within a field goal.
I think that's the one game that we didn't discuss. That was kind of a bit of a shock for me over the weekend was that, Houston Texans going into Jacksonville being the Jaguars game. Like, I get it. The Jags probably overlooked the Houston Texans, but CJ Stroud is playing some good football right now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he is out of the history of the league. Cam Newton was the one that had the most yards through 3 games. Close second was Justin Herbert. Now a close third is a CJ Stroud with 940 yards in 3 games. I mean, the guy is just slinging the ball all over the spot. He has basically nobody to really throw to besides Tank Dell. The offensive line is somewhat shaky, and I'm surprised. I really am. Being an Ohio State guy, I have my issues with CJ Stroud, but so far I can't knock anything he's done so far in the NFL.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Ohio State, you guys had a big win. You guys had a
Let's
big win.
go. Let's go. But
Let's
that was
talk
a
about
good game.
that.
Dude, that was a good game, dude. Like, my heart was pounding so hard. Did you end up watching the rest of that game, or were you at work, or what?
So I got home in time for the fourth quarter. So I was working until
So you
10.
missed. So you got the brunt of everything,
Yeah,
basically,
I got
because like
the
the game
I
was
was
kind of slow
streaming.
for a while.
I was streaming on the phone, and then
Yeah.
I had the free trial for SiriusXM. So I was trying to find the college game on the radio. So I was watching and or listening throughout the evening. But no, it was a rock fight. Like the defenses really did their job. Kyle McCord, it sounded like, I didn't see the last bit, but it sounded like, on the TV, he was making some
He
big
was
time
balls.
throws. So
He was balls, dude. When he started going on the last drive and he had 2nd and 10, he converted 3rd and 19 that he rocketed in there for a conversion. Like, I gained some respect for the kid, and I told you in the past, I don't think Kyle McCord is gonna be a guy that's gonna win a Heisman and throw up insane numbers and take us to a national championship. But my God, looks like he is a gutsy football player. Looks like he is one of those guys that's gonna claw and scratch and keep us in these games no matter what. Now, I wonder how that's going to pan out for the rest of the year when we play some of these high-powered offenses like Michigan down the road. But at the moment, man, like us in Buckeye Nation, we're just on cloud nine, man. And especially with Ryan Day coming out afterwards and going after that piece of crap, Lou Holtz afterwards. Oh, it was perfect. Ohio against the world, baby. Let's go.
here we go. Love
Let's
it.
go.
This is great.
But
And,
that wasn't even the most, that wasn't even the best part of Sunday. The best part was Oregon curb stomping Colorado. That in itself was beautiful. And then on top of that, today, when they dropped that video, bro, when Oregon dropped that video, oh, dude, I lost it. I was laughing my ass off. That was so well done, dude. Some of
yep.
the behind the scenes stuff about how Deion Sanders' kid was saying some pretty outlandish stuff.
I'll
Like,
I'll fight you and the coaching staff. You
yeah,
guys are so
yeah,
little. Let's
yeah.
scuff up the O.
One of the guy was like, "We're gonna murder some ducks" or something like that. Whatever it
Yeah.
was, it was some pretty outlandish stuff. And I gotta hand it to Dan Lanning. Dan Lanning showed me a lot. It's funny because what you're seeing now out of Dan Lanning is, Oregon used to be a finesse team. Part of the reason why Oregon would always, make it to the mountaintop, make it to a national championship and lose to Ohio State, or make it to a national championship and lose to Alabama, whoever it is because they were very soft. They were very easy to, muddy up against. Like, if you went in there and try to outshoot, Oregon, you're gonna lose. But if you got physical with them, they would falter. But now Dan Lanning is bringing that SEC style of toughness to Oregon, where they are physical, where they are big and brash, where they will bully you. And I'll tell you what, man, watch out for Oregon, man. This is starting to get very interesting with Oregon and Washington and even USC down south.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And yeah, this week, USC is going to Boulder, so this should
Fight
be
on.
great.
Fight on.
I'm sure Fox is so happy that they have Colorado and Big Noon kickoff again to just absolutely get their skull caved in.
Yeah.
I think the spread's like 22-21. The only thing that worries me about USC though, Jay, is like tackling is definitely like an option. And it's like, I get it. Like, there's no Travis Hunter. That offensive line for Colorado is probably going to get Shadur killed at one point this season. But like, if the defense for USC can't get any stops, that just leaves the back door wide open for them to just to kick down and cover the spread. But I mean, I think, Bud Elliott from CBS Sports and 24/7 Sports brought up a good point the other day when he said, tell me if he's wrong. Like, normally teams would look at like Colorado as like a look ahead game. Like, all right, we have Colorado, and then like we're playing Washington State or we're playing UCLA or Cal or whoever, right?
Yeah.
But now, like with all like the hype and the like the Dion like bravado, and I don't care about the ego. I think having like a personality like that is good for college football in the long run.
It's good, but then it becomes disrespectful after a while.
But it does, exactly. It becomes disrespectful and all that. Now teams are going to be going up against Colorado, bringing their absolute A game when normally they would probably call the dogs off after like 35-0.
Yeah. Did you hear that? And this is I don't know if this is how true it is, but apparently there was a concerted effort by coaches within the Pac-12 to give Oregon as much information as possible to make sure they beat Colorado. Do you believe this or no?
Oh, it's nonsense. Listen, I love Keyshawn Johnson. Like, I love Keyshawn.
Yeah.
But that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard because, I mean, really, like, you can just watch the last 3 weeks of Colorado, and it's like, okay, they scored, what was it, 46 points against TCU. But after that, Jay, like, they scored 46 points against TCU. They scored like 25 against Nebraska. And then against the Colorado State team that they should have lost to in regulation, they eked out 27, 28 points. Like the offensive production was going down. And that was even before the Travis Hunter injury. Everyone knew that this offensive line was brutal and was going to get Shedeur Sanders killed. Yet they still kept Shedeur Sanders out there to inflate his numbers to try to get a Heisman, which, by the way, I think we can stop that pipe dream.
Let's go Bo Nix.
And two, like, even with Travis Hunter on the defense, that defense could not get any stops. So it's not like it was some, like, elaborate, Spectre, James Bond effort by coaching staff to try to beat Colorado. Like with all like these transfers that they took in, like there's not a whole like there's no, it's not like they're playing against Alabama here. All right, it's Colorado. The win total over under was like 1.5, 2 games according to Las Vegas. So like let's stop this.
Yeah. I'm just glad. It just bugs me because I'm a lifelong fan of college football, and I've watched this sport for the better part of 20 years, and I just hated the fact that it just became about Dion. There's so much more to college football than just one head coach. Like I'm not saying, Dion is gonna fail or I don't like him or whatever, this and that. It just he took up so much air out of the room, and like us as fans of college football and the sport, we understand it's so much bigger than one player or one coach. It's the universities and the brands they are carried throughout generations, right? Like it just started to become very, very annoying for longtime fans of college football to watch him basically take up all the limelight.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm excited. Let's go USC. Fight on.
Fight on. My God.
You want to wrap it up, or you have anything else you want to get to?
Yeah, let's get out of Dodge. So this episode of the pod and previous episodes of the Pro Football Radio podcast can be found on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcasts at. YouTube, be sure to hit that little subscribe button. You'll be getting that notification when we're about to go live, and when we do go live, Google Podcasts, be sure to leave a 5-star review. Apple Podcasts, be sure to leave a 5-star review as well too. Social media, Facebook and Instagram, Pro Football Radio Podcast. The Twitter machine at PFR Podcast. I'm on Twitter at Brando_Puma, hashtag PUMABETS. And Jay Chima, the captain of the ship on the ones and the twos, is at Jay Chima. Like, subscribe, download, hit us up in the DMs. The DMs are open. And like I said, for betting content, if you go on Twitter or X or whatever the hell you call it, and you go into search and you hit hashtag PUMABETS in the search, it should bring up all of my plays that I've either posted or I have live at that point.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week. Peace out.
Via con Dios.